Let's get this on our Couch Crunchers Facebook as well.
Oh, I think we just went live 2 seconds ago.
Oh, did we? On which one?
I don't know. It just says live now.
Oh, that was
We're
the
live.
Facebook. That was the
Okay.
Facebook Live. But I probably should check out YouTube to make sure that we're live. Trying some new stuff here. And yeah.
We're on the air?
All right.
I don't believe you.
We're definitely on the air on Facebook. I don't know about YouTube though. That's the question. How have you guys' weeks been?
Just wonderful. Just I had a great week working, playing, getting back to going out. I took the wife for some Thai food at our favorite Thai place, Thai Patio here in the East Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite busy. It was a lot busier than I was expecting. But
to go out to eat?
we didn't go to the restaurant. We just got takeout. But everyone there was probably 40 people in line to get takeout.
Guys, it's actually working. YouTube is up. And Larry is on there asking us if we got any big plans for episode 100. We do. We
do have big plans.
We stay tuned for next week. Although I don't know if it's just my internet, but it's buffering like crazy on the YouTube. So hopefully this episode works. If nothing else, I do have it recording, so I can at least release the podcast no matter what. But yeah, dude, guys, it's been crazy with everything going on, but in a good way, I'd say. I moved into the new house, pretty much settled now, which is nice, and it's been good. I've been watching Breaking Bad, which makes my heart very happy.
What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, there's been just had a lot of family stuff. It's been kind of just relaxed. Unfortunately, I am furloughed from work right now, so I have a lot of time on my hands to have my wife tell me to do stuff. So
is she making lists? Is she making more lists than Lance?
To be fair, she's not pushing me too hard, but she does literally have a whiteboard that says honey to-do list on it. So
that's funny.
The new
awesome.
list master giving Lance a run for his money.
That's right.
What have you been having to do? Also, Larry, since you're in the chat, can you let us know if you're actually able to see the video? Because it's all frozen for me, and I'm wondering if it's just an issue on my end. So let me know. Anyway, what has she been having you do, Tyler?
Just like put up some shelves in the garage. Ongoing issue fixing a toilet where I keep getting incompatible parts and fixing things up and cleaning stuff and all that kind of stuff. So
okay, cool,
productive, but I probably could do more than I have been. But I'm furloughed from work. I kind of want to relax a little bit. So
I get it. Like, I'm not getting paid for all these honeydews.
Yeah, that's right.
Why do I have to do all this? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You get paid in other ways for completing the list.
That's right. It's not as monetary, but
it has its value.
That's right.
Nice, man. Well, dude, it's been crazy this week to watch these two movies. Were you guys able to watch both, Sicario and Prisoners?
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually just finished that with my wife 30 minutes ago.
Which one? Sicario?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sicario I've seen several times more recently, and so I watched that one earlier in the week when I was a little bit more distracted. But Prisoners I hadn't seen since I think 2015, and I really wanted to make sure that I could sit down and really pay attention to it more. And crap, man, that movie's awesome. Dude, I love that movie. It is nuts, though. Hey,
are we jumping right into
on the Facebook? Yeah, we've been jumping into the movies. We'll do Fab or Flub later, unless there's anything you guys have been watching that you want to talk about.
Nothing new on my end. We can cover that later. Let's just dive right in.
I do want to mention something that I did watch. We won't talk about it much. But as crazy as it may sound, I watched Psycho, the 1960 movie, last night for the first time ever. I had never seen that movie before, so that was pretty fun to watch a classic. I mean, that is a 60-year-old movie now, and I finally have watched it. Classic Alfred Hitchcock movie. So, yeah.
Well, good for you.
It was good. It was good. I haven't watched a black and white movie in I don't even know how long.
People who watch black and white movies just do it to lord it over everybody else.
Well, it was at my mother-in-law's behest that we watched it. I was like, all right, let's give it a try. And I can see how it inspired a lot of movies that have come out since then.
I'm so cultured, and I used words like behest.
Oh, my goodness.
I only watch movies in black and white.
I definitely don't. I usually prefer to watch the movies that are like bang, bang, pew. That's the kind of stuff I like. Tell me all about your family. How much you love family. And let me see some cars driven off cliffs. That's what
All right, Dom.
Oh,
It's
man.
all about family, man. I live my life 1/4 mile at a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why would anyone live any faster than that? 1/4 mile at a time is enough. But, yeah. So let's talk about the movies. What did you guys think? Let's talk about Sicario first. What do you guys think about Sicario?
So, first off, I want to say that this director, I think his name's pronounced Denis Villeneuve or Villeneuve.
Oh, really? Is that how you pronounce it? Makes sense since I'm pretty sure he's French.
It seems like the movie styles that, or at least these two movies that I saw today, you have a message underlying the whole story, and the story of itself is basically premised on an idea, and the idea seems to be a cautionary tale or a warning to those in power or those who are conducting this kind of outfit that it's not without its blowback, and that Sicario in particular, like we basically see the movie from the perspective of FBI agent Kate Macer, who's played by Emily Blunt, and she feels like she's being dragged into something that's out of her control, and she realizes there's a big consequence to it, and she doesn't know how to control it, and she doesn't know what to do that's right. She doesn't know if what she wants to do is right, and what she wants to do is uphold the law of the land.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything that they're doing is outside the law, that they're basically a government-sanctioned mercenary operation, or yeah, I guess mercenary is really the best way, but they're government operatives operating outside of the law. And the last line of the movie, or one of the last lines in the movie that really shocks me is, this land is now a land of wolves, and you're not a wolf. And if you're not a wolf, you got to get out of Dodge, right? That was the message, is that the war being waged is too ferocious for ordinary people. And if you're ordinary folk, you've got to go somewhere where the rule of law still holds true. And it was an intense ride. I mean, it was very high pace, high action. Always wondering what's going to happen with Emily Blunt's character.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, is it an effective tool to deliver the message that the writers and director were hoping to deliver? And certainly with all the traumatic scenes and all the crazy stuff that's going on, it did feel like a cautionary tale to me, a lot like Prisoners did as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed between these two, like a question that I had when I watched both of them, is, do the ends justify the means? Because there was very much a storyline in both of those, I think more so in Prisoners, but in both, to where they were doing things that that definitely aren't ethical, and they were doing them for what they thought was a greater good. So, for instance, Josh Brolin's character in Sicario, he knows he's working with another cartel person from the Colombian cartel. He knows the guy's dirty and not really all that good, but he knows what he's going to do is to help them take down a Mexican cartel drug lord. So I think that theme of do the ends justify the means is definitely in both movies. Again, you have Prisoners, where you've got Keller is his name, Hugh Jackman's character, where he kidnaps Alex Jones and tortures this, autistic kid. Not kid, he's an adult, but he basically is like a 10-year-old kid. And I thought that was really fascinating between these two movies was that question that I felt I was being asked is, do these means justify what we're going to end up with? And I thought that was fascinating between both movies.
Yeah, that's what I got too. And
also,
basically,
they weren't in black and white, so they are not good enough.
Okay, fancy pants.
Also, to add to what Sam said, if you're in Chandler and you're not a wolf, time to get out of there.
you better head to Mesa Gilbert area.
That's right.
Get out of Chandler. Sorry, Corbin.
I thought both of these movies, but Sicario in particular, with Emily Blunt's performance, I thought she did a phenomenal job. The acting was great in both movies, and there were such big names in both of them, and I felt like everybody did such a good job. I didn't really enjoy the movies because they were just kind of too real and dark, and I don't. It's not my movies are my getaway, from reality.
You wanted to see Stuber, is what you were looking for.
Yeah, I was looking for
to see a buddy cop. Yeah.
Stuber, lots of people die, but you feel good at the end,
Yeah.
But no, it's it's just for me, like, movies are kind of like an entertaining getaway, where these were just kind of like the dark side of real life, and nothing happened, and nothing good happened. Some good things happened, but like ultimately the overall feel was like this depressing, like, blah feel at the end of the movie. And I just don't like that so much.
I love that kind of stuff. I get where you're coming from, but I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I felt like I'm kind of like on Tyler's side here. I mean, there's no question that these movies are important. There's no question that they're high quality, but they are pretty dark and pretty depressing. In fact, the movie Prisoners was going to get an NC-17 rating, and they had to tone down some of the gore and violence in the torture scenes in order to bring it to an R.
I don't find it to be that gory. It's disturbing, but it's not like that gory.
Yeah, but if you think about the time this movie came out in 2013. I mean, it probably took a while to get made, but I'm guessing that the writers of the movie were trying to give a scathing indictment of the enhanced interrogation techniques that were being touted or being discovered around that time or just prior to during the Bush administration. And the issue was, if you track the movie, Hugh Jackman's character kidnaps and tortures a kid in order to get him to tell where his daughter is. And in the end, the kidnapping and the torture doesn't do anything to help the investigation or help the location of these girls.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any information that's of any use. The kid is an unreliable witness at best. He's clearly handicapped in some way, whether it's drug induced or he has autism or something. But he's not reliable. He's not a reliable source. And so any information that he would get out of him is going to be tainted. And he ultimately gets something, but it's indecipherable. He doesn't know. He doesn't understand what they're saying. And it's not until other sources come out that the investigation is able to move forward. And I think that what the writers are saying is that the torture enhanced interrogation techniques are bad. They hurt the people who do them. They hurt the people who receive them, and any information obtained is unreliable. And I think that's what they were trying to say. Otherwise, I don't understand the movie as a storytelling level, because it's so dark and so ugly. That why would you feel the need to tell that story at all?
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. There were some other. It felt like that movie was a little bit more artistic than Sicario, where the word prisoner had multiple meanings with the characters. Basically, Hugh Jackman's character feels trapped. The autistic guy is like trapped in his own mind. So I feel like there were multiple meanings to the word prisoners, and they did a lot more symbolism and stuff. So I think that what you're talking about with the torturing is like a big part of it. I think there are a few more elements to it, but they also made it really interesting as far as what happens to your family and how that can affect you. Like, how far Hugh Jackman was willing to go. And then the opposite, basically, of what happened to the kidnapper, the old lady. She went on this war against God, because of her tragedy, So there are a lot of other elements to it as well. That made it interesting.
Yeah, this movie to me is fascinating because it's a and you might be right, Sam, that it's about these enhanced interrogation techniques and how they don't work and everything. But the reality is, I was thinking about it as I was watching it, and I'm like, had Keller, Hugh Jackman's character, not done what he did, they wouldn't have found the kidnapper. I don't see how he would have ever arrived to the conclusion that it was Alex Jones' aunt, not really his aunt, but how it was that older lady. Because the investigator was definitely uncovering a bunch of things as he was going along, Detective Loki, I mean. But it wasn't until he found Alex Jones, because Alex Jones had been kidnapped by Keller, that he went back to the house to notify the aunt, went into the house, saw the picture that made him think, oh crap, they're the kidnappers, and then he ultimately gets into a confrontation with that older woman and shoots her. So that's what I thought was really interesting about it, is that maybe you're right, and they were trying to tell a story of enhanced interrogation techniques don't work, but the reality of the story also is that they wouldn't have caught anybody had they not.
Well, I'm gonna counter your point there. They didn't find Alex Jones. They could have put those pieces together much sooner had Alex Jones been available for questioning. But because he was missing for several days,
mm-hmm.
Tied up in Hugh Jackman's lair,
mm-hmm.
the police weren't able to go back to him and question him.
Well, the thing is that Hugh Jackman found the house because he went back to the aunt, but the detective, he found the house because of the necklace on the dead guy.
Yep. Completely independent source. It was completely independent.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, and he's the one who really, saved the day and found the girl. Hugh Jackman kind of failed and ended up in a pit, So
he put more lives in danger than he saved.
Right. So, I mean, it ultimately, I think the whole thing was a complete failure on Hugh Jackman's part.
So then, if we're asking the question, does the end justify his means? The answer, I think, would be no. Because you guys are saying that had he not kidnapped Alex Jones, you think, Sam, that they could have found the girl sooner through normal investigation? Is that what you were kind of getting at?
I think that's what they're trying to say. I mean, again, this is a fiction, right?
Yeah, of course.
So they can tailor the story to fit the message that they want to tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
The message that they want to send. And the way that they fix this is that all of Hugh Jackman's efforts were basically spinning Hugh Jackman in circles. And when he finally found something, it wasn't from the kid who he had beat up and tortured. It was from another source. It was from his friend's daughter who managed to escape.
Yeah.
And so all of his, enhanced interrogation or torture essentially is what it was. All of his torture was for nothing. And he ended up brutalizing this poor boy and involving his neighbors in this conspiracy to kidnap and torture. And ultimately, it was for no reason. He didn't have to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's the message they're trying to say. I think they're trying to say, look, justice, the way that justice goes normally is tough. It's slow. It's methodical. It's imperfect. But doing it on your own is way, way worse. Don't be a vigilante. Don't take matters into your own hands because it's way, way worse. And if that's the message they're trying to send, I think loud and clear, they did a good job. Because on every front, the whole kidnap and question was a failure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He got nothing out of him.
And then when he showed up to break down the door and save the day, he ended up just getting captured, himself. So he should have just left everything in the detective's hands. Now, honestly, he had every right to be upset and every right to be a squeaky wheel and try and keep things moving. The tension was understandable, but there's a reason why these things are done in the way that they're done. And when he tried to work outside of the legal means, he just screwed things up and made it worse.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And the cops were pretty lenient with him, like he assaults a guy coming out of custody, and they're just like, we're just going to act like this didn't happen, So they were pretty lenient with him.
I don't. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in comparison, Sicario is a little bit more, I feel like, on the line. Like they tried to, they skirted the line of, can you justify this a little bit more? Because they did, some really, really crappy stuff. And they also did some things that were more effective against the drug cartel. So I feel like it became more, it was more of a morally questionable line for me than it was the kidnapping. Because for me, it was the kidnapping was just like, whoa, no, this is way, way bad. Obviously, the other one's way, way bad too. But then also it makes you question, like, it got more results, So like, there's this more of a question of, do the ends justify the means? I feel like in Sicario. Obviously, you end up on Emily Blunt's side for most people, I think, but it puts it more into perspective.
Sicario is a really interesting one because, and I like the sequel, but the sequel was not needed. And Sicario, I feel like, was a very standalone film that made you think, and was entertaining, but it wasn't like overly full of action.
It's kind of like First Blood and Rambo, right? First Blood is basically a message about how you treat veterans as they're coming home from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
And then Rambo, First Blood Part 2, is just pure action. Just get in there, kill them up. And
that's what Sicario 2 felt like. It was more just an action movie with a small amount of, like, maybe a message. I haven't watched it since it was in theaters, but Sicario itself, the original, was fantastic, and it was gut-wrenching, and it had that moral dilemma, which is why I think I like it better than the second one. Emily Blunt's character as that moral center was a very interesting and fun character to. We saw the story through her lens, and I enjoyed seeing it through her lens because she was that moral compass. She knew what was right and wanted to do it the right way, but consistently couldn't really get them to do it that way. And I just loved seeing her struggle throughout the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to point out some things about kind of the backdrop of Sicario. So in, let's see, I think it was 2006, Felipe Calderon became president of Mexico and initiated a war on drugs, unlike that country had ever seen. It's pretty clear that the government of Mexico has, if they haven't lost, they're losing the war on the cartels. There's been hundreds, if not thousands, of local politicians and journalists who have been murdered by the cartels. Local police, state police are all corrupt and on cartel payrolls. That is real. That is true. If there were any place in the real world that was like Gotham City in Batman Begins, it's Mexico. You know, the League of Shadows has infiltrated every level of infrastructure.
Borders specifically, right?
And so you have to ask yourself, if there's no Batman, if there's no real Batman, who's going to save the day? Who's going to go into Gotham and save the day without Batman? And it's
Colombian cartel, baby.
Well, yeah, that's basically what you end up with is Alejandro, played by Benicio del Toro. He is the Batman of this scenario. He's going in and he's getting the job done, working outside the law because it needs done. And it's ugly, it's gritty, but the situation is what it is.
The part about that movie that got me at the end was when he kills the kids. Up to that point, I was like, all right, I get it. You're getting vengeance. And then, boom, he shoots the two kids, the wife, and then the husband. And I was just like, oh, man. That was wrenching right there.
I kind of felt like he was going to do that because he already shot that cop.
Mm-hmm. It was an adult, and it's just crazy because his whole vengeance was about his family being killed, and I'm surprised that he was willing to kill another person's family as a result. Which is why the second movie doesn't work as well for me, because then it paints him as the hero when he's not a good guy in my mind. Like, a good person doesn't kill kids.
I'm just learning that there is a second movie, so you're going a little bit past me.
Dia del Soldado.
Yeah, it's good. It's a fun action movie, but it doesn't work as well, in my opinion, because of how not just Gray, he's just a bad person. I mean, at the end of Sicario 1, he's threatening to kill Emily Blunt, who is a stand-up cop individual, so that she
FBI.
won't rat on him. FBI, yeah. But yeah, and I enjoy watching a movie about an anti-hero. He's essentially an anti-hero, but he's not a nice person.
Yeah.
I like that.
Punisher.
He's worse than Punisher, man.
Punisher was in the movie.
Yeah,
You're
he
right.
was.
He got his butt kicked.
Another bad guy. Everybody in that movie was bad guy except for the FBI.
Emily Blunt and her partner. Yeah, they were the only good people. But yeah, dude, I just love this director. I find his movies to be great. I didn't want to because originally I said let's do Prisoners, essentially because I saw it on sale and I was like, ooh, that's a good movie. We should talk about Prisoners. And then I thought, oh, we could talk about another Denis Villeneuve or whatever movie. And I thought Sicario, because what I want to do eventually is watch Arrival and Annihilation together and compare those two. Because Arrival is another one of his movies. Blade Runner 2049 is another one of his movies. But I didn't want to be talking about those because I think we could save those for another day. But this director, because I can't say his name, is slowly becoming one of my favorites. Christopher Nolan is by and far my favorite director. And then I think Denis Villeneuve or whatever is probably my second favorite. I haven't seen a single movie of his that I didn't love. And I haven't seen every movie that he's done, but man, the guy knows how to tell a compelling story, and he's generally pretty dark about it. Arrival wasn't as dark. Well, it's pretty dark, but not as dark as these other two that we're reviewing tonight. But fantastic guy who knows how to. Well, I don't know him as a person, but fantastic director who knows how to tell a story. And I think that both of these movies, while you didn't find them as entertaining because they were bleak, Tyler, I personally love bleak. I don't know what it is about it. Bleak movies I find so cool. I finished Prisoners and I was just like, oh my gosh, what the? I hadn't seen it since probably 2014. I probably watched it like a year after it came out. I had forgotten almost everything except for that Hugh Jackman's character was buried underground at the end. So other than that, I'd pretty much forgotten everything except for buried underground and that he kidnapped and abused the Alex Jones character. Beyond that, I couldn't remember who the actual kidnapper was. Couldn't remember if his daughter survived. And so when I'm watching Jake Gyllenhaal take the daughter and like rush her to the hospital, I'm like, oh crap, does she live? Does he? You know, I that tension was there for me after so many years of not watching this movie, and it hit me, man. That part at the end was very powerful to me.
I don't know. I felt like that movie was a little predictable for me. Like I was like, it's the old lady. Like right at the beginning, I was like, it's the old lady. She's the bad guy. Like,
yeah, it was kind of a giveaway when I looked at the actress and I was like, that's not what she really looks like. They've got a lot of like old nasty makeup on this gal. She's probably a much more attractive woman than they're making her out to be. I bet she's the bad guy. And sure enough.
I don't even know specifically what gave it away. It was just kind of like, I felt like they were just leading it one way. And I was like, but this doesn't seem plausible. And this is the other big character. So it's that lady. You know, like, so.
Fair enough. I had forgotten all about the lady. And so it was fun for me to see it all unravel again. I didn't see that coming as much. I remembered, you know, after the reveal, but I love that. You know, I did it with Revenant a little while back. I hadn't seen it since theaters, and it was really fun to watch that movie again and kind of rediscover it. And then Prisoners was another one I got to rediscover. It's really fun to do that. I love when I can forget what actually happened and rediscover it again. So on Prisoners, I had a couple more thoughts that I wanted to bring up. And Sam, I really want to hear from you since you're a father. So there's a part where after the daughter's been kidnapped, Keller, Hugh Jackman's character, his wife Grace, is in bed and tearfully says to him, "You said you could protect us from everything." And it's at that moment that he leaves the house and he goes and kidnaps Alex Jones.
Mm-hmm.
As a father, and this is hypothetical, of course, had your child that's 6 years old or whatever been kidnapped, and your wife said that to you, do you think that would cut deep like it did for him? Not saying you'd go kidnap somebody, but would that cut deep at you think?
Oh yeah. That kind of thing does cut deep, but I have a particular set of skills.
You're a lawyer. You use the law in your favor.
He's got Stormbreaker right behind him, so true. He's all good.
No, but that I mean, I anyone who listens to the show knows I've got a kid on the way, and I've fostered as well, and I love my foster kids, and I know I'm going to love my son, and as the husband of the home, I feel like I am the protector, and so I heard that line and I was just like, oh man, that is a stab right there, and I sympathized with the character, not so much that I think he should have gone and kidnapped and tortured another human being. But I could see why he did that. And that and then Jake Gyllenhaal rushing the girl to the hospital were like two moments in the movie that really emotionally impacted me. Were there any moments in either of these two movies that you felt emotionally impacted the two of you?
I mean, I feel like the moment where the mom wheels the daughter in at the end and says to Detective Loki, "You're the hero." Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And he's sitting in, it was like a callback to the moment where Hugh Jackman is sitting in the detective's car and he's saying, she's sitting there wondering why I'm not there rescuing her. Not you, not the police, me. It's on me. And I felt that. I did feel that moment. it is, especially recently, I've been thinking about, whose job it is to keep my family safe. And, I don't want to be political or anything, but I feel like it's our individual responsibility to look out for ourselves and for our family. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And so that moment really resonated with me.
Yeah, I really liked that line too, where he said that, because I agree. I think it's individually, and I think both my wife and I share responsibility in keeping our home safe. But I know that she looks to me to be the main source of protection. Like when I would go on a camp out overnight, I was a scoutmaster for years. When I'd go on a camp out, she felt less safe when I would leave the house. She went on a girls' trip. That never resonated with me. I never felt less safe because my wife wasn't in the house. And so those lines, I mean, because of that, I feel like I'm the protector of the home because of the dynamic in my household. But that was a really good line too. That one hit me as well, when Keller is telling Detective Loki how she's looking for me, not you, me. And then you're right at the end when they call him the hero. I didn't even think about the line earlier on in the movie. That's a really good catch, Sam. What about you, Tyler? Anything that hit you in these two movies?
Well, I was kind of just uncomfortable the whole time because I don't like stories about young girls being kidnapped and thinking about what's happening to them. It drives me insane. But the other thing is, just what you said, the moment with the wife, and how she was, talking about protecting them and stuff. Because, for me, like, I don't go out of town very much. Like, I go out of town, like, I think really I've only been out of town without my wife once our whole marriage, for 7 years we've been married. So, and I went out of town, and the one time I do is when we went to Comic-Con, actually, in November. The one time I do, we have some Amazon packages stolen off our porch. My wife's home by herself, and I'm like, there's a thief on our property exactly when I leave, and that freaked me out with my wife being home and there being a criminal on our property when I'm not there, so that definitely resonated with me too. And that was like my first thought when that part happened. So yeah, it's scary. It's scary. And I didn't like thinking about it. And that was why I didn't really like the movie very much.
It's funny. Well, fair enough. What is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on these movies?
How about highlight performances?
Oh, yes, that is something you like to do, and I like it too.
Who stood out to you as the highlight performance? We'll start with Prisoners.
Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say definitely Hugh Jackman. I mean, Hugh Jackman throughout the whole movie had so many emotional parts, and he played them differently. Some of the time he had to be emotional and inebriated, and he just nailed it. Like, he was so believable. So I think definitely number one performance in Prisoner was Hugh Jackman for me.
Okay.
Nice.
There were two standout performances. I'll say three in Prisoners. Hugh Jackman, of course, that's a given. But Jake Gyllenhaal, man, I love how he had like a nervous tick for his character. I don't know if you guys caught on that or not, but he had this like little flinch he did with his eyes. Anytime he was talking, really, he did it constantly. It was
he does that a lot in Nightcrawler too. Maybe it's actually Jake Gyllenhaal's tick.
Is it? I don't know. I haven't seen Nightcrawler actually, but I thought it was a character tick because I've seen other Jake Gyllenhaal movies.
No, I'm just joking around.
Fair enough. But I thought that was really cool and a nice touch on the character. And then the person who plays, I can't think, Alex Jones, but I can't think of the actor's name. But
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano, he did amazing as well. Paul Dano does not have any mental disabilities that would make him unable to speak to people. And the character to me felt very much like the IQ of a 10-year-old, awkward and unable to have a conversation. I thought his performance was fantastic.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Hugh Jackman's performance. He is really a dynamic actor. He commands the screen every time he's on it. It might be because he's so tall, but ever since X-Men came out, it's like this guy is the guy to watch in every scene. And so he is really good at putting everyone else through their paces on the screen, and I really enjoyed Hugh Jackman's performance.
Yes.
So switching gears to Sicario now, I felt like Benicio del Toro was the most subtle, but it was so attention grabbing. Like watching him just kind of silently observe everything for the first half of the movie, and then when he starts to do things, you're like, okay, all right, now I see who we're dealing with. This is a dangerous man. This is a very action-oriented guy, and he's driven with something that we haven't discovered yet, and hopefully we get to by the end of it. So I really enjoyed watching Benicio del Toro in Sicario.
I agree. He was the standout performance to me, along with Emily Blunt. I thought Josh Brolin was just kind of Josh Brolin. He wasn't really anything interesting in this, but Benicio del Toro is golden in this.
I really enjoyed his character too. I couldn't help but keep thinking that he was going to be some kind of code breaker, though, from The Last Jedi.
I see.
I saw Sicario before The Last Jedi, so that never occurred to me.
I saw The Usual Suspects way before any of those.
And I just kept picturing him going, but I thought Emily Blunt did such a fantastic job in this movie. She's just really good at being nervous and sad. She kind of has to do, I think, similar emotions in like A Quiet Place, but she just does that role really well. So I thought that they capitalized on her skill set, and she did a really, really good job.
I thought her character went through a really interesting transition through the movie. Up until she gets assaulted in her apartment, she felt like she was in control, and that she had everything. She was keeping her eyes on everybody, and she was in command of the situation, or at least she felt like she was in command of the situation, and she was going to get her man, and she was going to, save the day. And then she gets assaulted, and she has to depend on someone else to save her. And from then on out, I felt like she was just kind of like just trying to get her tail out from between her legs through the rest of the movie. Like it changed her whole demeanor throughout the rest of the movie. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I don't think that was something that I was consciously thinking about, but yeah, absolutely. I think that she was trying to play catch up after that and trying to see, make sure that everything that she was going through was worth it. That's why she went in the tunnels, and she was trying to make sure that what they were doing was something that she could be a part of. And it was more desperate for her because that happened. And she was desperate to play catch up, and she felt a lot less confident and in control of the situation for sure.
Yeah, and I think the climax of that loss of control is right at the very end, where she's got a gun under her chin and she has to sign her name to a document she knows is a lie.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the moment right after that when she points a gun at Benicio del Toro's character, and at least for me, when I saw it originally, I was like, she's not going to pull a trigger. Her character would never pull the trigger.
She's already
But it's
lost.
still a very tense. Yeah, she's already lost. She knows. Well, and she knows that killing another person in cold blood is the wrong thing to do. So I just love that moment, though. It just adds to that additional tension in the movie that I feel like the director does a very good job at. So, yeah, Sicario is very good. Prisoners is very good, and all those performances you guys highlighted are fantastic. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss, Tyler?
There's one other thing that I was thinking about. It's kind of a small thing, but it annoyed me a little bit with Prisoners. Like
I can't. No nitpicks.
Before we move forward, I want to address a comment that popped up from Facebook. Mark Essery is wondering if there's a new Sicario movie. No, Mark, we're going back and reviewing movies from a long time ago because there's not any new movies that are coming out right now. So we're catching up, talking about good movies that came out before Couch Crunchers was around. So that's a great question.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And Sicario 2, if you haven't seen it, does exist. I think that was 2017 when it came out. So if you haven't seen Sicario Dia del Soldado, that one's pretty good too, but it's different. It's a lot more action-oriented than this one.
Yeah. So anyway.
So what were you going to say? I was just giving you crap.
No, that's all right. So the ending when Hugh Jackman's blowing the whistle, right? He's blowing the whistle, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character. Sorry, I'm not remembering the names of these guys.
Detective Loki.
Yeah, Detective Loki. I should remember that, Loki, right? So he hears him, but he's just kind of like, "What's that noise?" And he's like, "I know I hear something." So you assume that he's going to find Hugh Jackman. You don't know if Hugh Jackman's going to survive, if he's bled out, like what's happening. And it kind of just leaves that detail on a cliffhanger. I didn't really I didn't like that.
I love that. It's
so,
just like the spinning thing in Inception.
And that's
going to fall over, is it not?
No, that's what I was going to relate it to, because in Inception, it's the whole premise of the whole movie makes you question it. And then the viewer has to decide what the movie was to them, right? And it's like this whole premise of the whole movie with the spinning top in Inception. Does it fall? Does it not? You get to decide what the movie was to you. This was similar to that kind of idea, except it was just a detail. What happened to this guy at the end? And it was just didn't have a conclusion, and I just didn't like it. It was just a detail that they just decided we're going to leave out.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think happened, Tyler. It was cut for time. The movie was 2 hours and 24 minutes, and
it's not Lord of the Rings. So
you can just presume what happens, right? You can just presume what happens at that point. No sense in dragging out, bringing him out of the pit, and then arresting him and throwing him in jail. There's no reason to do that. We can presume what's happening afterwards, and there's no reason to go back to it. And the movie was already long enough as it was.
That's kind of what I thought of it. I was like, you know what? This is. I thought he survived and goes to jail. That's kind of what I took from it. But if you want to think that he gets rescued, or that Jake Gyllenhaal's character is just like, screw you and leaves, which I don't think would be the case.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't make sense. But you could also see that there's a world where maybe he gets rescued and bleeds out, but I think that's unlikely. I loved that moment. I thought it was great. I love that kind of thing. Leave you thinking, to kind of use your imagination to finish the story. It's not like they didn't tell you who the kidnapper was. That would have been annoying if they left it up to your imagination who the kidnapper was. But whether or not the main character lives or dies, I think that was kind of a cool touch, personally.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't take it the same way. I just felt like it was kind of an annoying detail, but it didn't affect the movie on a grand scheme. It was just something that I felt like there were some really slow parts to the movie that could have been sped up, and there were some, there was that detail could have been concluded, but the overall movie was very interesting. I felt like mostly the pace was pretty good, but that part just kind of was like, what the heck, what happened, So just kind of bugged me a little bit. But that was the only other really main thing that I main thought that I had about it.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, let's give our ratings then. Let's start with Sicario, and we'll start with Tyler.
So I'm a little bit torn on how to rate these movies because I thought that they were so well done, but I didn't enjoy them. So, I mean, as far as how much I enjoyed the movie, with Sicario, I'd probably give it a 2. But quality, production value, acting, pace, I'd probably give it maybe a 4.
So okay. Which is it? So let's average it to a 3 then.
Sure. Yeah, let's average it to a 3.
Okay. So we're starting with Sicario.
Yeah, we'll start with Sicario.
Okay, I'd give it a 3.5. I enjoyed it. I could watch it again. I'm not going to put it ahead of some other new releases though. So yeah, I'd give it a 3.5. I did enjoy it. I think it's rewatchable.
I love Sicario. I have been teetering between 2 scores, but I think I'm going to land on a 4. I think Sicario is a fantastic movie. Love the acting in it. Love the direction. I was this close to giving it a 4.5, but I think 4 is more apt for it. And then we'll go the other way around. So we'll start with me on Prisoners. So I think Prisoners is a masterpiece. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. I don't have anything wrong with it. I love every bit of it. Movies that really give me like an emotional punch, like like Prisoners does, tend to get a higher score from me. 1917. That's one of the reasons that I gave that a 5 as well. There's several scenes in the movie that just got me choked up and really resonated deeply with me personally. And Prisoners does that. So for me, it's a 5 out of 5. I just think it's a masterful movie. We'll go to Sam next.
Yeah. So again, my rating system is based on how much money I'm willing to spend on a movie, and Prisoners was an entertaining watch, but it was also really dark and depressing and gritty, and that makes it really hard for me on a rewatch scale. And so I will say that I wasn't disappointed by the movie. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was really well done. Performances were high quality, but based on the subject matter itself, it's really tough for me to sit down and sit through it again. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit lower for me too. I'm going to give it probably a 2.5. Basically same reasons. Like I said, not really even. It's no question. I will never rewatch that movie ever, unless I'm absolutely forced to. But it's it was just too depressing. It was, and there was the girl did get saved at the end, so there was a little bit of a redeeming value there, but the overall movie was really depressing.
I guess I just like dark. I like dark stories, I guess. I mean, you guys give me crap about how much I like BVS, but I think that's part of it. I like that it's a darker, gritty take on these characters, and then these.
I don't think we're the ones who give you crap about them. I think that's Matt and Lance.
You guys will. Fair enough. Tyler occasionally, but yeah, you're right. Anyway, I like that dark stuff, which makes me wonder: have you seen, either of you, Blade Runner 2049?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's similarly dark, or is it less dark to you than these two?
I think it's less dark.
Okay.
It seems much less dark.
It's the same director as these.
The violence against the replicants seems cartoonish almost in 2049.
Mm-hmm.
the thing about 2049 for me was like it was so just slow. It was very methodical pace. It's like the dialogue had these really long pauses in between, and the movie ended up, the runtime was like 2.5 hours. It was so long.
Yeah, it's a long movie. That's this director's style. I noticed a lot of pauses in this. There's a lot of story told in silence.
Yeah, but it wasn't even just like silence. In the midst of dialogue, there would be a long pause. And, you know, you'll have to rewatch it, and I know that that's true.
I watched it multiple times. I love 2049. I didn't bring it up to review it. I just was wondering if you thought it was as dark as these other two, because it's another one from that. Okay.
The sci-fi setting also helps kind of brighten the tone of the movie as well.
Well, he's going to be doing Dune. That's coming up too.
I know.
I haven't the original
Timothy
Dune,
Chalamet and who's the gal? Anyway,
I'm not sure,
yeah,
but
you're right.
I did him. Again, he's feeling like a Christopher Nolan to me, where it's like did a bunch of like cool movies, did some Batman, got really mainstream because of that. And anyway, all right. Well, let's move on then to Fab or Flub, and then we'll.
Before we do Fab or Flub, we're going to talk about what we're watching.
Sure. Sorry, I thought we gave a moment to do that at the beginning, but I guess I glazed over.
Sorry,
it. So, yeah.
I wanted to catch up later because it's a totally different tone, and I didn't want to disrupt the darkness at the front end. But
okay, well,
I found this channel. It's called Gavin Weber is the guy who does it, and he makes his own cheese, and he starts every episode by saying, "Good day, kid nerds." And it's really
or better than "Hello, all the cool cats and kittens."
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but I like the term "curd nerds" better than "cool cats and kittens." And it's been really fun watching him make different cheeses and try different cheeses. It inspired me to go out and buy some brie and make some baked brie, like they do at Fleming's, my favorite restaurant. And honestly, my baked brie is not very good. I don't know what I'm doing, but it was fun. It's fun to try and try new things, and I love coming across different YouTube channels and giving them a shout out. So this week it's going to be Gavin Weber. If you want to check it out, just Google Curd Nerds, and his YouTube channel will come right up.
Yeah, if you want to watch some guy cut the cheese quite a bit,
He doesn't just cut the cheese; he makes it and he tastes it too.
He tastes his own cutting of the cheese.
Yeah,
nice.
Well,
what have you been watching there, Tyler?
I actually just finished a new Amazon series, the first season. It's called Upload.
Oh yeah, I started watching that.
It was really good. What'd you think?
Yeah, I actually liked it quite a bit. Robbie Amell, I think his name's Robbie Amell, right? Stephen Amell's brother.
Sure.
Cousin. They're cousins. Okay.
Yeah.
So I normally don't find him to be a super compelling actor. He's just fine. And he wasn't like amazing in this or anything, but I definitely liked his performance a lot more than in previous things. So if you aren't a super huge fan of Robbie Amell, I feel like he ups his game a little bit in Upload. It's just kind of a weird, funny
mystery. It's a mystery.
Yeah, it is a mystery.
Lighthearted.
It's a lighthearted mystery, and it's just really funny and quirky about like what people envision about the afterlife and what it would be like if it were digital, and so it's got a lot of really funny things in there. So, like for example, they have these comfort dogs, right? So you go and you pick up a comfort dog, and he starts like petting the dog at his house and stuff, and then all of a sudden you find out that the dog is an avatar for a psychiatrist, huh?
A therapist.
Yeah, a therapist, right? So then the dog starts talking, And he's just like confused. He's like, do I keep petting you? And he's just like, it's only weird if you make it weird, you know? and so there's just a lot of like quirky, funny stuff like that. But yeah, I really like it so far. And they already announced that there's going to be a season 2. So
Nice.
definitely something good to jump into.
It is a fascinating show. They have a lot of really funny concepts. Like Robbie Amell, who's dead, attends his own funeral and is disappointed by the turnout and by the subject matter. It's very funny. It's very uncomfortable, but it is an interesting concept.
It's an awful funeral. It's horrible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's nice. Well, I've been watching a few things. I started Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad again recently, and that's been fun to rewatch that. Yeah, so good. Such a good show. But The Last Kingdom Season 4, I'm on episode 9 of that one. I'm getting close to the end. I'm loving that as well. You finished it, right, Sam?
Oh, yeah. The Last Kingdom is one of my wife and I's favorite shows. Whenever it comes on, we get a new season, I end up talking like Uhtred around the house.
Yes.
On my word as a Dane, these dishes shall be done.
Have you watched that show, Tyler?
I love it. Yeah, that's actually I didn't think about that. I actually did binge that 4th season. So
I'm excited. I got to finish it, but I've been taking my time.
I kind of want to go back and rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah, we did. That's exactly what we did. We finished season 4, and then we went back and started rewatching it all from the beginning.
I need to. Seasons come out so far apart, I forget who some of these characters are.
They cover a lot of ground in a short amount of seasons. From the start to finish, I think by the time we get to the end of season 4, Uhtred is supposed to be in his early 50s.
He doesn't look like it.
He looks like he's 35, but history-wise, they've covered about 55 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize how long it had been until they're like, oh, I'm going to go get my son. And I'm like picturing this young kid, and then he's like a teenager. And I'm like, oh, it's been a really long time.
Yeah, and along that same line of thinking, Brita would be the same age as him. Ain't no way Brita would be having a baby in her 50s.
Well, I mean, it can't happen. It does happen, but it's rare. The Battle of Ethandun, which is what they did at the beginning of, or at the end of season 1, right? That's the season 1 finale, is the Battle of Ethandun. That took place in the year 874. And then the Battle of Tettenhall, which happens at the midpoint, basically the midpoint of season 4, is 910, the year 910. So that's about 36 years between the Battle of Ethandun and the Battle of Tettenhall. And then Uhtred appears to be about 20 years old at the Battle of Ethandun, which would make him about 55. I mean, he could have been in his late teens. He certainly acts like he's a teenager at the Battle of Ethandun. But there's no way to tell. They don't give you a firm timeline on how old Uhtred is.
Well, and that actually helps to give some context on it, because if you watch the show, Uhtred goes through so many women, at least in the first 3 seasons. And if you look at it as it's been like 30 years, it doesn't look as bad as when you watch 3 seasons. You're like, goodness gracious, this guy is always with some weird shit. And he's always in love with them, and then they can't be with him for whatever reason, or they die, or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. I think this show's really good. I think Uhtred is always treated like garbage. And I know it's because of like the time period. And I know Uhtred wasn't a real person, but like, man alive, they treat him like crap. Alfred was such a jerk to him most of the time. Edward is a jerk to him most of the time. Although what I just watched, Uhtred pulled a pretty bad fast one on Edward. But all the Kings of Wessex in this show, which I think there's only been 2, are kind of jerks.
Yeah.
They're power hungry jerks.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
But his mother, Edward's mother, I cannot remember her name because it's one of the Ethel somethings.
Her name is Elswith. It's not Ethel anything. It's Elswith.
Ethelstan, Ethelsted, Ethelfred, Ethelwad. I don't know. There's a bunch of them. Anyway, she's gotten a lot more likable in this season. She was always very hateable but she's
Okay, let me ask you something. How old do you think that actress is?
That actress? I don't know, maybe in her 40s.
She's 27.
Seriously?
No.
She's 27. Man,
So
alive. And that character is probably supposed to be in her 60s.
50s, 60s, yeah.
Yeah. She's 27, really?
27 years old.
Well, they do a pretty good job aging her. Or she's
And it gets better. It gets better. She's actually a knockout.
Is she?
Really?
She's a knockout in real life. And they make her look like she's an old, just awful looking person. Like,
Very
Yeah.
frumpy.
the weird braid that she has in the first few seasons.
I'm trying to pull
Comes
her
down. It's so weird. But yeah, she's actually
27 and actually very good looking.
she's 27 and she's a knockout. Yep.
Well, she does a good job at acting much older than, because I've never Aylesworth, right? That's her name.
Yeah, Elsworth.
All right, so this is from IMDb. Let me share my screen.
Her
Yeah.
profile picture, she looks really pretty.
She was born in '93. Goodness gracious. All right, let's pull this up to share. From IMDb here. Yeah, she looks a lot younger there.
She's 10 years younger than me, man.
Yeah, she's very pretty in that picture. That's funny. There's not very many on here of her. It's just these three.
Yeah, she has an Instagram that, yeah, she's posted a lot on Instagram.
All right, I got you. Follow her on Instagram for all the nice looking pics.
Yeah, she and Alexander Draymond, who plays Uhtred, they spent Easter together. I mean, she's in another relationship, but they were filming, and so they took some pics on Easter that are kind of fun to watch. They are kind of fun to look at. If you like the show.
Okay. Yeah. I love the show. Super good. All right, well let's get into Faber Flub. Here's one I think that Tyler will be excited about. I don't know if you're into the Tony Hawks there, Sam, but Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is being remastered. It's on its way for September 4th, 2020, and is coming to PC, Xbox, and PS4.
You know,
every time anybody mentions Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the old soundtrack comes into my head. And I can't get that song out of my head. Getting older all the time.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if that song's going to make it to the remaster. There's five.
No, they said all the original soundtrack is coming back.
I saw that 5 of the songs aren't, because for licensing deals they couldn't get them back.
Well,
but
they're getting most of them.
Yeah, they're getting.
And thank you, by the way, for making that be in all of our heads too.
Yeah, great song.
I can see how you would think that I would be excited about that, Max, but I'm actually really not.
Really? Dude, I love the Tony Hawk game.
No, it's not because of the announcers. It's because Tyler only gets out of bed for Stuber, man. That's the only thing getting in.
That's true. It's true. I got to get my Stubes on. No, I just, it's an era thing, like if they said they were going to remaster Pac-Man and make it look really nice,
Which they've done many times.
I don't want to play Pac-Man. Like it was fun at the time that they made it, because it was just kind of like the best thing that they had out, but it's not really fun anymore. That's kind of how I feel about skating games. I don't really feel excited about getting like kickflip combos and stuff anymore, like it's just not my thing. So I'm just kind of like, remaster Pro Skater. It's a nostalgia thing for a lot of people, but I just don't feel like the game mechanics or gameplay is just going to really be that exciting.
Well, that's probably because you never hit the 900.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's just not very good. That's what I'm hearing. I love these games. I'm very excited for the remaster, especially because I think the price point was going to be like $30 or $40, so not like crazy expensive.
For both of them, right?
Yeah, for 2 games. Yeah, they come in one package. So it's going to be a cheap price and a fun thing to revisit. I might wait for it to go on sale. I probably don't need to pick it up day one, but I love those games and I'm excited to play them again in more updated graphics. So I think this is great. I love it. I can't wait to be racing around as Tony Hawk and singing. Here I am.
Getting older all the time. Oh man.
This is a karaoke edition of Couch Crunchers.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
For me.
Good.
I love that nostalgia stuff. I'm a big sucker for nostalgia.
Yeah. Well, then here's some more nostalgia. Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV series is headed to Disney Plus.
Yeah, my son is thrilled. He's so excited for this.
I think this is cool. I've not read the books, but I think TV is such a great avenue now to adapt books. I think this is great. What were you going to say about your son, Sam?
My son read all these Percy Jackson books. He's read the Norse God series too. What is that guy? I don't remember. But same author wrote one for the Norse deities as well.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
But he's really excited about this. And honestly, the movies were quite disappointing. Other than they had Alexandra Daddario.
Never disappointing to see her on screen. Very true.
Never a disappointment. Yeah, she never disappointed. But the stories and the effects were kind of hokey, and it felt like they just weren't taking the movies very seriously. Which, given that they're kind of geared towards older kids, I can get why it'd be tempting to make them silly. But I feel like the stories, they have a lot of heart, and because they made them silly, the heart element of it was left out, and hopefully the series can capture some of the same kind of tone and magic that Avatar: The Last Airbender has, because that's basically the level of story that we're looking at is Avatar: Last Airbender, which is now on Netflix, by the way, and is always rewatchable. While you're waiting for Percy Jackson and the Olympians to come to Disney Plus, you can go back over to Netflix and take a look at Airbender.
Hold on, Sam. Hold on. I've not seen this movie. Okay. But everyone who's told me about The Last Airbender has said that it's the worst movie in the history of movies.
Okay. Now, here's the deal, Tyler. I also will tell you that The Last Airbender movie is the worst movie ever. But there's a cartoon series that it's based on, which is fantastic.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about.
Yes, and that they are both on Netflix, so be careful. If you're seeing a lot of slow, dancing, like this, a little bit of a cha-cha, that's probably the movie. And you don't want to be involved in that. On the other hand, if you're seeing a lot of Tai Chi type martial arts with a lot of elements, water, air, fire dancing around, that's the cartoon series, and it's fun to watch.
I'm glad we have that distinction other than just, it's a cartoon versus live action. We have an extra distinction.
My brother bought the whole series on sale, and he's been watching it with his kids and been loving it. So I've seen some of it and thought it was really good. I would like to watch it. So since it's on Netflix, I probably should. I've heard nothing but good things about the TV series.
Probably because I
saw it and was like, what is this?
Probably because the only person who tells you about it is Sam.
Well, no, my brother-in-law loves it. Yeah, my wife's brother and his wife, they love it. That's actually where I watched a few episodes, is when they first got married. I think it was right when the show was ending, and I came over to their house as they were watching the finale. And so I actually saw the last 2 episodes of the show. But I don't remember it well enough.
I actually did see some of the what I can't remember if it was The Last Airbender. It's the one with the girl as the main character.
It's called Legend of Korra.
Legend of Korra. Yeah, I saw some of that, and that was decent. I know some people are really into that because you always see the Korra cosplay at Comic-Con and stuff. But but I haven't seen the last. Is the Last Airbender before that or after that? Before. Okay, well, I have to check it out.
So is this a fab or a flub to you, Tyler? Is Percy Jackson and the Old Things coming to TV a fab or a flub?
I'd say. I guess I would say it's a fad. I'd be willing to give it a shot. I was just, I'm not somebody who's read the books or anything, and all I have to go off of is The Lightning Thief, which wasn't good, But it's something that enough people I know are fans about it, fans of the books, and say how interesting the story is. So hopefully they can get the series right, and it comes out good. I'm always for a good fantasy series.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping it's good. I'm excited to watch it whenever it comes out, which we don't have any details on or casting or anything. There's really just Robert Riordan, I think is the name of the writer of the books, and he
Rick Riordan.
Sorry about that, Rick Riordan. Anyway, he announced that they're going to be doing the series, and I think it's cool. I'm excited to see it. Well, I had one more fab or flub, but I just don't care to talk about it because you guys don't want the DC universe anyway, so it's not really going to be relevant. I guess I will say it. Swamp Thing has been picked up by the CW after cancellation by DC Universe, and I just think that's stupid. But what I was reading is we're probably not going to do a season 2 anyway, so whatever. It sounds like it's more so that they're just going to get to air the reruns, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it's a TV mature show, so I guess they're going to have to edit it to make it more CW friendly. But anyway, that's all we have tonight. So I guess it's going to be a shorter one, and we'll get to enjoy the rest of our evenings.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, as usual, check us out on the website on couchcrunchers.com. Give us a like and follow on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you like the show, please share it and review it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have feedback on how you think you can get better, let us know. We're happy and willing to hear what you have to say. We might say screw you if we think you're dumb.
We won't say that.
We won't say that. But no, we welcome feedback. We're constantly learning and getting better. When we started this show, we're almost at episode 100 next week. When we started this show, we sounded like we were coming from a bathroom, and even worse than that, it was awful. And now we still experience technical difficulties. Apologies to anybody who's been trying to watch on YouTube. It continually is buffering. I don't know what's going on. I think next week we'll probably just stick to StreamYard like usual rather than trying to do anything new. But at least Facebook was working. And anyway, until next time, nerds out.